Hello guys. Well, after my first game was almost finished, I did a new project. The thing that you're looking at is 2 days of my work on coding and watching YouTube tutorials, and I think it's pretty good. So to make this character, so I was like planning to make a third-person shooting game, and it will be taking place in a zero gravity environment. As you can see, the character can just float around here, and I think the animation is pretty good. And also, I also make this aiming function. So, like regular third-person shooting game, it will aim at something. So this is all the stuff I got right now, and I will show you how I make it. So for this character to work, there's three main parts of this character. So the first is the camera system, the second is the animation system, the third is the system that control how the character moves, and the fourth system is the system that controls the aiming of the character. So we'll start with the camera system. Okay, now I put the game in the scene view on both sides. So let's take a look at how the camera works. So this is the camera, and when I rotate the thing around, you can see that the camera is rotating in a spherical manner around us. So it goes around all the sphere, and it follows, it was like capturing the back of the character. Wow, so how do I make it? So basically what I do is I use this CMVCam1, and I use this Cinemachine virtual camera. So basically what I did is I let it to follow, so I changed the follow and look at to the play to something called camera look at, which is a separate uh, game object on the player. So it's basically the player's head, and it's basically looking at the player's head and also following the player's head, and also to make the thing that you saw, like the how the camera moves in a spherical manner around a player. I make this script here. So what does this script do? It basically takes the position of the mouse and transfer it into a sphere. So we know that the position of the mouse is a 2D position. So after it gets into the script, it goes out as a spherical position. So it reflects on, so the position of the mouse reflects on the sphere, and it follows the players around. So now let's take a look at the script. So all those scripts here are for other systems. Basically, only this script here works for the camera. It basically takes the mouse position and feed it to the main camera to make it rotate. Okay, now let's take a look at the character movement system. So to have a visualize on the effect of the movement, let's play the game first again. So you can see that when we press, so I was pressing W right now, and it adds a force to the player. So you see, if I press the A, then it goes to the side, also adding a force. Now if I press A and W together, it goes in diagonal way. So basically what it does is it's adding force to the player, and the force it adds is depending on which button that was pressing. And also a very important factor is that the direction of force depends on where you're facing it. So if I press W now and hold it, and if I change my camera rotation, you can see the direction of the force actually changes. So it's changing with respect to the direction of the camera. So let's take a look how I achieved this. So this is the code responsible for the movement of the character. So we can see here I get input from the horizontal and vertical axis, which is basically W and S and A and D of the keyboard. So what I do is that I take the horizontal and vertical input and I normalize it to get the direction that I want to go from based on my input from the keyboard. So and I basically player rotation is what I get from here. So this is basically the rotation of the camera, so where the camera is facing at. So this is a vector quantity, and this is a rotation quantity. When you time a rotation quantity by a vector quantity, you got the direction of the vector with respect to the rotation. So this is the world position, and this is the position after it got normalized by the rotation. So that's the one responsible for when you change the rotation of the camera, you change the direction you're going. And the rest of the code is just add force in that direction that I want to go. So that's how I achieve the movement of the character. Okay, now let's move on to the system I like best, which is the aiming system of the character. So let's play the game again to see how the aiming system works. We can see that when we're not pressing the right mouse button, we're not like actually aiming at anything. So yeah, we're not basically like aiming at anything. You see, like our player is facing the direction we're aiming, but we're not like actually aiming. But if I press the right mouse button, like you can see that it's like aiming, like it's aiming the gun at the center of the screen. And I release that, you see the hand has been dropped again. So how do I achieve that? So actually, most of that is not code. It's just like animation rigging. So if you take a look at the rig layer, I have this right hand IK constraint, which is responsible for the character holding a gun with like her hand. This body aim constraint, which is responsible for the character's upper body to face in the direction that I'm aiming. And this weapon aim constraint, which is responsible for actually aiming the gun. So this one, if you take a look at this one, it's a multi-aim constraint, and the constraint object is the right hand of the character. So basically, it's like making the right hand of the character aiming at this this thing, weapon aim like this game object. I'll come to that later. So basically, it's aiming at where we want to aim. And the right hand of the character is aiming at where we want to aim. And because that weapon is attached to the right hand, it's also aiming at where we want to aim. So so now we got like this weapon aim at, so the character will aim at this object. Then how are we making this game object at where the player actually wants to aim? So I do that. I achieve that using a script. So this is a script called player aim, and then those are the codes responsible for like aiming, like changing the game object where the player wants to meet. So basically, this is a raid. So we make a raid from the center of the screen to the front, like just extending it to the front, and this aim point is where the ray extends to almost infinity, and we just put the position that player is going to aim at this point, because it's basically where it goes from the middle of the screen to the infinity. So basically, right now the player is aiming right into the middle of the screen. And another thing that I found really fascinating is that when I rotate the player, you can see the upper body goes first and the legs goes under. I think it's like really natural for this. I write that because I want to make the character more natural. How do I do that? I actually know like my upper body follows where I'm aiming like exactly, and what I do is that I use this line of code in the player movement script. So basically, you can see that we use a lerp function and lerp from the transform rotation to the camera rotation. So basically, it has a delayed rotation from my rotation to camera rotation. So it's rotating slower than upper body, which is really natural and really good. And also, one thing that I forgot to mention is that uh, how I make this animation for this character to lift the weapon. This is actually really simple. So if you look at this one, we have a right hand reference, right hand rest reference, and the position of the right hand. So if you pay attention before, you can see we have like a right hand IK constraint. So the IK constraint is basically bound to this right hand position. So whenever I change this position, my hand actually rests on that position. So what I do is that I write some code uh, here at the aiming function to so once I press the right mouse button, this right hand position lerps from its position right now to the position where I want to aim at. And when I release the right mouse button, it goes from its position right now, which is aiming, to where I want to rest. So I have two positions, the aiming position and the rest position. And once I click the right button, it's just lerping from those two positions. So it has like an effect when it holds a gun. Okay, the last thing I want to mention is that so if you see the character has like actually has some animation on its leg, so it's changing its posture like every time I'm changing its direction. So I achieve that using the animator. So that's the loss system, which is the character animation system, and that's fairly easy compared to the other systems because it's basically a blend tree. So it's a blend tree that has like 8 animations, which I got from the internet. So those 8 animations is responsible for the character going in 8 different directions. So this basically Unity does all the job for me. I just need to put all the stuff here, and then I need to set the parameters: velocity y and velocity x, which is the which I just use. If you see the code here, I just use where's code? Oh, just here. So I just set the velocity x and velocity y using the direction vector that I just got from here. So this is from my input from my keyboard. So like so basically the position, like the animation of the character is based on how you press the AWSD button. So when you're going front, it plays the going front animation. If you go like to the left, then it plays the animation for the character to go to the left. And if you press D, then it plays the animation for the character to go to the right, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, one last thing to mention. Uh, if if you look at it, you'll find this here is actually doing some like physics, which I think is really cool. So the thing is that so how this one is like the easiest thing for me to achieve because I just need to download uh, a pack on the internet where it gives it has a swing bone function. I just need to attach this script to the bones on the twin tail, and it will just do all the job for me. So those are all the stuff I did in probably 3 days, and I think that's actually a lot. And I have like a really good moving motion and also a aiming model for my character. Now what I need to do is to make the game map, the enemy, and also make this weapon working, like make it able to shoot bullets. But I think the process is going really good right now. So, well, I hope you guys looking forward to the next video, and thank you for watching.